Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For 25 years, Reach the World has inspired youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and this is the first live stream event for our virtual exchange program with the Cheetah Conservation Fund. Special thanks to the Infinite Safari Foundation for making this program possible, and a very, very warm welcome to the classrooms and students who are joining today from across the country. If you've been following the virtual exchange so far, you've seen some wonderful articles from Cheetah Conservation Fund explorers Anneke and Brian. And today you get the chance to meet them on camera, hear more about their work with cheetahs and conservation, and of course, the very best part, ask them all of your questions right to their faces. For our next live stream event on February 29th, For our next live stream event on February 29th, that's 3 weeks from today, we're going to travel virtually to Cheetah Conservation Fund's facilities in Namibia and meet world-renowned cheetah expert Dr. Lori Marker, who will in turn introduce us to some of the cheetahs in her care. So mark that on your calendar. You won't want to miss that either. And finally, before we bring Anneke and Brian on screen, we have a number of classrooms waiting backstage, and we're going to meet them shortly. They're joining us from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Mississippi, Kansas, and New York today. Really great group of students. And we have many, many more classrooms watching via YouTube today. Special shout out to our friends at East Carter High, Smith Magnet Elementary, Arthur Schomburg Elementary, George White in New Jersey, Park Avenue Middle School, Cool School Canada, Biotech High School, and of course the great kids at Toluca Lake Elementary in California. For all you YouTubers, please use the chat bar to let us know you're here. Let us know where you're joining from, and of course, to share your questions with our special guests. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next 45 minutes. All right, introductions complete. Let's talk cheetahs. I am going to bring Anneke and Brian onto the screen. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Good to be here, and good to see people joining us as well.
Fantastic. Before we dive into what you want to share today, I want to ask you both quickly. Maybe Anneke, we can start with you. Where are you right now? Where are you joining us from?
I am actually joining everybody from Finland.
All right. Very nice.
Yeah.
Welcome. Glad you can be here. And Brian, where are you today?
I'm actually in the US at the moment. I arrived in from Ethiopia, I think yesterday, where we was doing some work over there. So I'm kind of in between places at the moment, but currently I'm in the US.
All right. Fantastic. Well, glad you could join us. And let's get started. We've got lots of questions. We've got lots of excitement about our cheetahs. And I'm going to bring up your pictures as a guide. And let's get right into it. Okay, so here are our special guests today. We've got, of course, Anneke on the left, Brian on the right. And we're going to start with Anneke today. So Brian, I'm going to briefly move you off screen. And Anneke, take it away.
Alrighty. So hi, everybody. My name is Anneke, as introduced by Tim, and I am from Namibia. I was born in Namibia and I grew up in Namibia, and that is how I came to know about cheetahs. So I come from Namibia. I don't know how many of you know where Namibia is, but Namibia is in southern West Africa. Okay, so that is where Namibia is. So Namibia is in southern West Africa, and I can show you a quick trick of how you can remember the Namibian map. So if you take your right hand and you extend your thumb and you bend your index finger, this is the index finger, right? If you bend it, you will have the map of Namibia. So that is the map of Namibia, and that's where I come from in Southwest Africa. So yeah, Namibia is a very big country, and I am very proud to come from Namibia because we are the cheetah capital of the world. And what that means is that we have the most cheetahs compared to all other countries that have cheetahs, that contain cheetahs. But then there's also one sad thing about this. We don't have that many cheetahs in the world. although we have that many cheetahs in Namibia, we don't have that many in the entire world. We have about 3,500 cheetahs in Namibia and only about 7,000 cheetahs in the entire world. Now, when you compare the human population to the cheetah population, it's just like a drop in the ocean. And so that really makes me sad. And that is how I got interested in becoming an advocate, or, raising awareness for cheetahs to young people like yourselves, to adults, community members, other educators. And so I work at CCF as an educator. I love teaching because I got to learn about CCF through my school and through my church. So this is a picture of a church group that I was part of. It was actually called Pathfinder. So this was the Pathfinder group. And each year, my church and my school would take us to CCF in Namibia. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is that CCF is just located 44 kilometers, which is about 27 miles from my hometown of Otjiwarongo. So it was a very quick and easy drive to get to CCF. And I really enjoyed my experiences there at CCF whenever we visited. I visited CCF for the very first time when I was 12 years old. And by the time I was 13 years old, I knew I wanted to help the cheetah, to not become extinct. And so that's why I am an educator today. So I work with a lot of kids all around Namibia. And today I have the privilege of talking to, kids from all around the world. But otherwise, these are some of the kids that I share, the dangers that the cheetahs are finding in terms of having to stay alive and to exist for future generations, when we are all gone, for future generations to be able to see the cheetah. So I talk a lot about what we can do as young people, as adults, to ensure that the cheetah stays alive for a very long time. So this is my first experience of seeing a Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia. And whenever my school group would arrive or my church group would arrive at CCF, we would enjoy watching the cheetah run. The CCF staff would exercise the cheetah, and we would see how fast it would run. And then after that, we would all run to the museum to be the first person to paddle the bike. There was just one bike in the museum, and so everybody wanted the chance to be the first to be on that bike. And that bike tested how fast you could pedal compared to the speed of the cheetah. And no matter how fast we all pedaled, we never quite got anywhere close to the speed of the cheetah. So the cheetah is very special for many reasons. For me, it is special because it is the fastest land animal in the world. And today I can brag and say, where I come from, Namibia, we have, the biggest mammal in the world and the fastest mammal in the world, and that is the elephant and the cheetah. And the cheetah is very special to me for that reason. And also that, I come from, the region that has the most cheetahs in Namibia as well. So yeah, CCF works to ensure that the cheetah does not get extinct. And we do that through a lot of programming. Education is a very important program. One important thing about what we do at CCF is to share with you and everybody around the world that you don't have to be physically present where the cheetah is to conserve the cheetah. You can conserve the cheetah in a number of ways from wherever you are. In my introduction, I said I am in Finland, and I am still working from Finland to ensure that the cheetah does not get extinct by having the chance to talk to you, and also to share the cheetah story with people here in Europe, here in Finland. So it doesn't really matter where you are. Conservation, we can all work to conserve the cheetah. So it's the small efforts that everybody does or makes that in the end helps to ensure that the cheetah lives for long after we are all not here.
All right, Aniki, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction to yourself and your connection to cheetahs and growing up in Namibia. We have a bunch of students who are joining us today, some of whom need to leave for other classes within the next couple minutes. So I want to pause briefly and give a couple of them a chance to ask their questions to you while we have them. This wonderful group from Park Avenue Middle School showing off their virtual exchange flag is watching our recording today and has a couple questions that I can share. But we also have some students from Stony Lane School who are with us today. So I'm going to take our slides back for a minute. We can say hello to our friends at Stony Lane. Good morning, Stony Lane.
Good morning.
All right. Do we have a brave soul at Stony Lane today who would like to ask the first question to Aniki?
Yes, and our camera keeps going out, but we definitely have a list of questions here, and so I'm going to grab a student to read one to you. Okay, let's start with Liam right here. Liam?
Can you or have you ever pet a cheetah?
I haven't petted a cheetah because that is against our mission at CCF. Although cheetahs are fluffy and beautiful animals, they are really not pets and they are not meant to be petted. They belong in the wild, and so we teach people that it is not a good idea to pet a cheetah or to have a cheetah for a pet. So no, I have not petted a cheetah, but I have had the chance to introduce cheetahs to young people like yourselves and to, work with cheetahs at Cheetah Conservation Fund.
All right.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah,
one more.
please.
If I want to grow up and work with animals, and if I want to work and
If I want
to grow up and work with animals like you, what do I have to study?
Could you hear her?
Yes, I heard her. Thank you very much for that question. So, first of all, you just have to have passion for animals. That's the first thing. Before anything else, you have to have passion for conservation. But I studied biology. I studied environmental biology and what that means, and molecular and, other, not so complicated things. But I studied working with animals and how humans can live in harmony or can coexist with animals. So that is what I studied. And so if you want to work with animals, you need to study animals. You also need to study a little bit of, human beings in order to understand how they can conserve or ensure that animals do not get extinct, or help animals so that they don't get extinct.
All right, Stony Lane, thank you for those wonderful questions. We're going to bring Miss Jordan's class on camera. Hi, Miss Jordan's class.
Hey.
Hey, do we have a brave question asker or two from your class?
Here, come on and have a seat and ask your question.
So, how do dogs stand up to protect the farm animals from cheetahs?
Very, very good question. And my colleagues later in this program will share a lot about livestock guarding dogs and cheetahs. But what we do at CCF is we breed Anatolian Shepherd dogs. They are a breed of dogs, and they are a large dog, and they bark very, very loud. Now, cheetahs are very, very scared. Although they are one of the biggest large cats, they are very scared cats. Okay, so a cheetah would not want to get into a fight with any animal. And so this large dog, and when it barks very loud, that is enough to scare a cheetah away. So when these dogs are with livestock and a cheetah sees this dog with the livestock, the cheetah will not want to have anything to do with the livestock because they would be too scared to come close to the livestock or too close to the dog.
That's really cool.
All right, we have one more question if you have time for us. All right, Lucy, let Emma sit right here.
Do cheetahs have a good sense of smell?
They do. They do. I don't know how great of a sense of smell they have, but I know the dogs that help protect the cheetahs, they have a very great sense of smell. I'm not sure how great a cheetah's sense of smell is, but I know the dogs that protect the cheetahs have a very great sense of smell.
Right, Miss Jordan's class, thank you for the wonderful questions. Aniki, thank you for, we're diving into all the topics already. I can't wait because there's so much more to learn about the livestock guarding program at CCF and so many other things. I'm going to bring Brian on to share a couple more slides with us, but don't go away. Hey, Brian.
Hello, how you doing?
All right, your turn to jump in here.
Here you go.
Let's get to know you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Brian, and I'm originally from the UK, and I can't do a magical little map like Anarchy can because it's a really weird shape, the UK. But I'm sure that you know where that is. And I started working in conservation around about 30 years ago, which is a very, very long time. And I didn't just start with cheetahs. You can see the cat that's on the left there that we're giving some medication to. That one's called a Pallas cat. There's around 40 different species of cat that exist in the world today. And the domestic cat is kind of just one. And then the rest of them are spread out across the world. And this little guy here, the Pallas cat, they come from Asia. So they're kind of the Himalayas, where it's very, very cold and they live in the rocks. On the right, that's obviously a cheetah, and that's at the Cheetah Conservation Fund. What we do there is when we get cats in, rescued cats, whether they've been caught on farms or injured or maybe hit by a car or something like that, we bring them in. We rehabilitate them, we make them well again, and then wherever possible, we always release them. And that particular picture there is just the day before we managed to release that cheetah. So it's asleep. It's not just laying there and behaving itself. It's under anesthesia, like you might have if you're going to have an operation in hospital. And then we fit that a special collar to them. And that collar is linked to a satellite. So when we let them go, we can go on our computers and we can find out exactly where the cheetahs are going, where maybe they're going back into a problem area again. We can tell by the movements, because we've been studying cheetahs for so long. We can tell if they've maybe had babies maybe in the wild, so we can get a lot of information from when we release the cheetahs back into the wild. Because when a cheetah's actually in nature, in the wild, it doesn't stay in one place. It travels hundreds and hundreds of miles, kind of wandering around, because the cheetahs are not really the top cat, as it were. So it has to compete with other cats, things like lions and leopards and other animals like hyenas and wild dogs. So it has to keep on the move. So if we was just to try to follow a cheetah, we just couldn't do it, because it goes out in the middle of nowhere. As you all know, the cheetahs are very fast. There's no way we could keep up with them. So these satellite collars that we use are incredibly important. And we've had around about 1,000 cheetahs through our center over the last 34 years. So, we're kind of getting good at it now. And wherever possible, we always release the cheetahs. Sometimes that's not possible. If they come in and they're very, very young, and they need a lot of our care, they kind of get used to humans, and that's a bad thing for cheetahs. Anarchy mentioned about somebody asked about petting a cheetah. If you get these animals used to humans, then they've got no fear of humans. So if you release them out, back into the wild and they've got no fear of humans, then they'll just start wandering into villages or wandering into farmland, and they'll have no fear, and then they become a problem, and that's not good for the cheetah because they probably won't be able to survive in the wild. So when they come in wild, we keep them wild and we try to release them wherever possible.
Brian, if I can interject for just a moment, we have a student question from a class that needs to go pretty soon this morning. I thought I could ask this question on their behalf because it relates a little bit to what you're talking about the everyday life of cheetahs. A student at Quaker Ridge School would like to know, what do cheetahs eat?
Well, they eat totally meat. They don't eat anything else. They don't eat any fruits or any vegetables or anything like that. But because of the size of a cheetah, they weigh around about between 30 and 40 kilos, typically. So it's other small animals that they will eat, things like rabbits and some birds, but also small antelope as well. So they're very good hunters, and they tend to go after things that are smaller than them. Typically, you know, when you see a lion on a documentary, they can catch things that are a lot bigger than them, whereas a cheetah doesn't. It always takes things that are smaller than them, and it takes one meal and then leaves it. And then the rest of the scavengers and the other animals will come in and finish. So actually, the cheetahs provide food for many other wild animals as well.
All right, thank you. And thank you for that question, Quaker Ridge. If we missed you, have a great day. I know, Brian, that you've done a lot of work with animals that aren't cheetahs too. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I first started in this kind of this strange world that I live in, it was mainly with zoos, and zoos are many zoos are very involved in conservation, and they run and coordinate projects around the world. And that's kind of what I got involved with, was working out solutions of how we can help frontline conservationists actually save the species. Here we got, this is actually an Asian elephant that was part of a program. And I was just giving him a bath there. And I think I got wetter than the elephant on that particular day. But that kind of linked, although that's an Asian elephant, that kind of linked with a project that I got involved with in Uganda, where there was a lot of human wildlife conflict, like with the cheetahs attacking the livestock. And Anarchy mentioned about the livestock guardian dogs and how they work. Well, the dogs wouldn't really work against something like an elephant. So you kind of have to work out ways that we can keep the elephants away from the crops and bits and pieces like that. So if we've got time, I'll tell you how we worked out a system to do that in Uganda. But what fascinated me is that the variety of animals that are in the ecosystem. And the ecosystem, I'm sure you all know what an ecosystem is. It's kind of the world that we live in, you know, and it's made up of all of these little bits and pieces, all of these animals, and there's people, and there's the environment, and there's the weather, and there's water. All of these things have to fit together. And it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle that you kind of have to work out what fits where and how it can stay fitted together. So the picture on the left, that's a snow leopard. We was working with the snow leopards in Nepal, and this was part of a breeding program. And I was lucky enough when we was giving a medical examination, and that one's called Tin Shen, just to make sure that it's nice and healthy before it goes back to its mother. And the one on the right, her name was Zara. And Zara was a lion that we bred, and I actually took her and her sister back out to Uganda and released her into a national park, or just next to a national park. And now Zara is a grandmother to wild lions. So it takes a very long time to re-release animals back into the wild sometimes. But when you look back and then you find out that that's what's happened, is very, very rewarding.
This is probably a great place to put in a question from the chat, which is very relevant, especially the picture on the right. A student at George White would like to know, how do you stay safe while working with wild animals?
Well, that's a very good question, because it's what you want is as little drama as you possibly can. You want to keep everything very, very simple, and it's all about respect. And if you respect an animal, then 9 times out of 10, it will respect you. Now, I'm not talking about respect as it's going to be your friend, but you don't take silly risks, and you're always aware of your surroundings, and sometimes the best way to stay safe is to avoid something. If I'm in the bush and we're tracking something and something doesn't seem quite right, then you just back off. You can't go in there and start thinking that you're big and you're brave and you're powerful, and bits and pieces like that, because that's their habitat, and they're a lot better at living in their habitat than what you will ever be. So it's all about respect and caution, and not taking unnecessary risks.
Great. And before we open this up to more student questions and bring Aniki back on the screen, you've got a couple more pictures. Maybe you can tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah. When we are the African continent is absolutely huge. It's massive. You can fit the United States inside it many times over. So we need to know what's in the environment. We need to know what we're dealing with. A lot of the animals that are there, you'll never see, because they can smell you, they can hear you, they can see you, and they're long gone before you've got any recollection. So what we use a lot is camera traps, like trail cameras. And we set them up, and here I'm setting one up at a water hole, like a little pond where all the animals come to drink. So that will take pictures day or night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we just go out periodically and take the little camera card, and we can find out exactly what visits that water hole, what we're dealing with. And it helps us to actually track certain animals as well. Because if we take a picture of a cheetah, there you go, there's good timing for you. You can see that all those spots. Now, every cheetah has got a unique pattern. It's not that you never get 2 cheetahs that are absolutely the same. So we normally set up 2 cameras, one facing one way, one facing the other. And if we can get 2 pictures of that cheetah, we can put it through our little systems, and we can identify individual cheetahs just by their spot patterns. So we never have to see the cheetah to know that it's there. And that's true of many other animals that we track as well. These are 3 young cubs that came into our center. Unfortunately, they came in and they wasn't very well. They took a lot of they had injuries and illnesses, and it took a lot of work to keep them alive, first of all. And then once they got to this age, and this age they're around about 4.5 months old here, then they had to start to build up their muscles and their condition. And like humans, the best way you can do that is through play. If you're running around in the playground or in the park and stuff, you're building up your muscles, and you're making yourself healthy by staying active. So what I'm doing here is I've got like a toy, like a bone tied to a piece of string on a rod, and I'm getting the cheetahs to chase it, a natural behavior that the mother would have been teaching them in the wild, just to develop their muscles. And because we knew that these cheetahs, because they were so young, and as you can see, they're not afraid of me at all. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to release them. So we're going to be looking after these 3 guys for the rest of their lives. So we're trying to get them healthy and give them as natural life as we possibly can.
I had to laugh when I saw that picture. It looks a lot like how I play with my cats in my house. Any students who have cats at home may recognize this or have a similar toy.
Yeah, a cat is a cat. You know, it's play is practicing hunting, really.
Excellent. Well, Brian, thank you so much. I'm going to bring Aniki back on the screen. We are going to bring some more students up on camera. This is our introductory video call. We're going to get so much more in the next couple of weeks into the topic of livestock guarding dogs, exactly how cheetahs spend their days, what everyday life is like at the center, the CCF Center in Namibia. We're going to travel there virtually next time we connect with you all. So there's lots to go still, but I want to know from our students, what are your first questions? What are your early things you want to know about? And I think Miss Jordan's class, I see you first. I'll bring you back on the camera, and we'll see if we have another student who'd like to go ahead with a question.
We have kind of a 2-parter because two of the students wrote similar questions. Okay, so Ken, you got to be loud.
How many cheetahs?
You got to look that way. Right here.
How many cheetahs die every day?
And
how many cheetahs come into your center every year? Day.
So did you hear that? How many die each day and how many come into the center each day?
Well, I can start that one off, Annika, if you want to.
Go ahead, yes.
Well, luckily, we don't get cheetahs at our center dying every day. If they come into us, we've got an incredibly good team of veterinarians, of keepers, of scientists, that if they come into us, their chances are very good at survival. In the wild, it's almost impossible to say. But what I can tell you is that there's, we know that there's the human wildlife conflict where the cheetahs go into the farms and stuff. But there's also another big problem, and that's people taking wild cheetahs out of the wild to become pets somewhere in the wild. And we know that around about 300 cats a year are taken out of the wild. Now, when there's only 7,000 left, or around about 7,000 left, taking those cats out, and a lot of the cats that we rescue from that situation, many of them over the years haven't survived because they're taken just too young. And if they die because of that, we've lost those cats forever. So we have to stop those cats, and that's a big part of CCF's job as well. It's not just protecting the farmers, but protecting the cheetahs in the wild as well. And our center, we've got the center in Namibia, but our center in Somaliland, in the Horn of Africa, kind of next door to Ethiopia, if you can see it on a map. There we've got 97 cheetahs that have been rescued from that trade right now. And they came in as tiny babies. And the chances of them being able to be out in the wild is very, very slim. But we've managed to get them to health, and they're kind of okay with us. But we don't want cheetahs under our care. We want them free and in the wild. Now, they'll live longer if they're with us, but that's not the wild, and that's what we want. Hopefully that answers your question partly. I don't know if I missed the second question.
The second was,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The second was how many cheetahs come into your care every day or year?
Okay. Well, the cheetahs in the Horn of Africa in Somaliland, it's getting less and less because of all the efforts and all the work that a lot of people are doing. That trade is slowing down. It's difficult to put a figure on every day. We don't get cats in every single day. And normally they come in as almost batches where the poachers, they steal these cats from the wild and they group them together and they try to take them across the country and sell them. So we stop them. But as I said, we've got 97 there. And in Namibia, there's around about 30 cheetahs. So around about 120 odd cheetahs that are rescued at our center. But luckily, because of a lot of hard work, there's not as many cheetahs coming into us. Maybe in Namibia, maybe 4 or 5 a year, hopefully, but you never know. Things happen, things change, and it's very difficult to schedule, to plan. But what we have to be is we have to be always ready to rescue a cheetah, to treat a cheetah, and hopefully get it healthy enough to release it back out into the wild nice and quickly.
Right. Wonderful questions, Miss Jordan, students. Yes. Well, we have you on. Or is there another question? Anyone have a burning question before we bring on another class?
Gabby, come here.
Come on, Gabby.
How old do you need to be to work with wild animals?
How old do you need to be to work with wild animals?
Aniki, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. At CCF, we encourage young people that come and work with us to be at least 18 years old. And this is because of, the laws of the country with regards to, safety and that type of thing. So, but you have to be 18 years old. But that doesn't mean that, you can stop working, to save, for example, the cheetah from extinction. You can work, to raise awareness in your school, in your community, in your church, wherever, about the cheetah. So you are really never too young to start working to ensure that the cheetah does not get extinct. But to physically work with animals like we do at CCF, you have to be at least 18 years old.
Gabby, great question. Thank you so much. I'm going to move you backstage, Miss Jordan's class. And Stony Lane, welcome back. I know your camera's in and out today, but we can usually hear you if you have some questions you want to share with Brian and Aniki.
Oh, yes. Thanks. Woo, we're excited that we got called back for a question. Let's see. Can you move out of the way? Hold on. Here we go.
Why do cheetahs have spots?
Could you hear?
Is that my turn or your turn, Aniki?
Yes. The question
Go ahead,
is, why
Brian.
do cheetahs have spots?
Go for it.
Well, it's like most animals. If they've got a pattern, or even not, it's all about camouflage. Hopefully, you know what camouflage is enable them to hide from their enemies or sometimes their prey as well. And with the cheetahs, they laze around a lot of the time. If you've got a cat at home, you know that they laze around a lot. They sleep a lot. They don't spend their entire day running. And what they do is they lay flat underneath a tree during the day. And next time you're outside and the sun's shining, if you look at the light underneath a tree, as the sunlight comes through all the branches, it kind of creates like a spotted light on the ground. So when a cheetah's laying down with its spotted coat against all this spotted light, it helps them disappear and it helps them hide. So they're not creating like an outline and they're blending into the ground. So the cheetah spots help them to hide like camouflage. So their enemies can't see them and they can have a nice nap in the middle of the day.
Great question. Any other questions, Stony Lane?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do cheetahs stay with their families or do they roam alone?
So cheetahs, well, it depends. So there are cheetahs who are, from the same litter, sometimes male cheetahs who are from the same litter stay together long after they have left their mother. But otherwise, most cheetahs are solitary. That means that they live on their own. The male lives on his own, female lives on his own, and they only come together when it's time to mate. I don't know if you know that term, but otherwise they live separately. But once a mother cheetah gives birth to a litter, or to one or two or how many ever cubs she gives birth to, she stays with them until they are 2 years old, and then she leaves them so that they can be independent. So it's only the mother cheetah that lives mostly with her young ones, or sometimes the cubs from the same litter also sometimes live together and hunt together. This is very important for their survival as well, when they hunt together and stay together. But otherwise, in most cases, cheetahs are solitary animals.
All right. Thank you, Stony Lane. Excellent questions. I see a student in Miss Jordan's class waiting very patiently to ask his question. There you are. You're on screen, bud. Go ahead with your question.
There you go.
How long can a cheetah last without food?
That's a good question.
Brian, go.
The cheetahs eat in a different way than other big cats. So a lion, for instance, he can eat 40 or 50 pounds of meat all in one go, one dinner. And then he's just going to lay flat on his back and lays around for days and not do anything. But a cheetah can't do that, because a cheetah has to always be ready to run, because the way that a cheetah protects itself is the fact that it can run faster than anything else, and it can run away. So a cheetah might only eat 3, 4, or 5 pounds of meat. Now that will only last them about two days maximum, and then if it's like you if you can last without food, but you slowly become weaker and you slowly become slower. So if a cheetah doesn't eat for maybe 2 or coming up to 3 days, they become weak and they become slow, which means that they can't catch their next meal. So it's a very dangerous time after about 2 or 3 days for a cheetah not to eat. And that's a maximum. Ideally, a cheetah will eat almost every day. And the longer that it goes without food, the weaker it becomes, the slower it becomes, and the harder it is to catch their next meal. Hopefully that answers your question.
Right. Fabulous question. Thank you so much. I'm going to move you backstage and share a question from our online audience. Students in Pennsylvania are wondering, why can't cheetahs roar? First of all, can cheetahs roar? And if not, why can't they?
No, cheetahs. Is that me again, Anakin? Okay. No, cheetahs can't roar. There's a way that we kind of tell between the big cats and the smaller cats, and that is that.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, Anaki.
Okay.
Okay, so cheetahs are, like your cats. Cheetahs cannot purr. Cheetahs purr, and that is simply because they are cats, and they are like your domestic cat. I can't really say the biology behind why they cannot roar, but I know that they are like cats, and like cats, cheetahs purr and they don't roar, like your domestic cats. Yeah.
Thanks, Anaki. Brian, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's just the design of like, or what we would call our voice box is the hyoid, and with so big cats can't purr, and small cats can't roar, and that's because of the design of the voice box down here. Some of it's solid and hard, and some of them are soft. So yeah, so cheetahs purr, but they don't roar, as Anarchy correctly said.
All right, fantastic. Well, we are diving into so many interesting questions about cheetahs. I feel like we've successfully introduced this topic, and it just has spawned 1,000 new questions that we're going to talk a lot more over the coming weeks with you both and members of Cheetah Conservation Fund team. Before we let Miss Jordan's class go, I want to bring them back on stage to give a big goodbye and thank you from Mississippi. It's great to have you here, Mrs. Jordan's class.
1, 2, 3. What do you guys say? Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us, kids. It was great to see you. We are out of time, as I said, and what a great introduction to the important work being done by the Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia and elsewhere, as we learned. Thank you so much, Anarchy and Brian, and thanks to our entire on-camera and YouTube audience for the great questions. This is the end of today's live stream, but it's very far from the end of our virtual exchange together. We'll be diving deeper into cheetah conservation through upcoming articles on the Journey homepage. And on February 29th, mark your calendars, 3 weeks from today, don't miss our live stream with Dr. Lori Marker from Namibia. I will see you then if I don't see you sooner. And Anarchy and Brian, thanks so much. Have a great week.
Great to see everyone. Cheers then.